right, there we go. We'll wait a few minutes until the room starts to populate, but I can see that a few of you are here. Say hey if you're already out there and you're getting the stream. Tell me how it sounds and how it looks. All right, restored our audio here, so we're back. So I was talking about team. All right, when you guys get on, start waving high so I know you're there. We'll get going right around 7 o'clock. Cool beans. Hi, Pygmy Pony. How you guys doing up there? Boy, it's rained like crazy down here, which is good because I can kind of get farm work done. It's also going to keep the dirt down. I feel a little bit bad for Charles Rhodes, who tried to do D1 on Saturday. Might have been, yeah, Saturday. Boy, he had a rough road to hoe. He might have drowned if he'd have gotten very much farther up Robber's Roost. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, bud? Ride with Mike, how you doing? So I have this thing set tonight to record. If there's a audio dropout or anything, I can restart the audio independently. But for any other reason, I'm gonna blaze forward. It's recording in high definition. So if something happens to the health of the stream or something tonight, I don't think it'll drop completely out. Uh, the resolution may not be good, but it's recording in high definition, and I'll upload it to the YouTube channel after it's done, so you can rewatch it if you have to. All right, let's go ahead and get started. It's right around 7 o'clock, and I need to be done by 8 tonight. So there was a little bit of confusion. I initially said that I was going to talk about my personal bike setup tonight, But I forgot that I had committed to, since we're already talking about the 2020 route in particular, that I had committed a couple weeks ago to talking about challenge points tonight. And I think that's a worthy topic to spend an hour on because lots of questions about challenge points, lots of questions about challenge point rules, and it's good for us to sit down and talk about them. The other thing is that I like being able to talk about them straight to you via video because when you write some of this stuff down, it sounds more intimidating or threatening, or maybe more like it's something designed to hit you over the head with than it actually is. That's not our intent at all. Our intent is to make this thing as much fun as we can, for you to have as big of an adventure as you can, and make it or not, I want you to have a lot of fun, and so does everybody else. But we do have an interest in leveling the playing field. So, a little digression. When I first started teaching physics 30 years ago at the university level, my syllabus was like one paragraph long. It basically said, if you think it's wrong, it probably is. And that was that. At the end of my teaching career, my syllabus read like an unabridged dictionary or the Magna Carta or something. It was freaking huge. And the reason for that is experience. You've been teaching for 25 or 30 years at that point. That's kind of why the rules are the way they are. There's a lot of them. They sound a little intimidating, but I just want everybody to understand nobody is trying to prevent you from finishing. Nobody is going to pull some little technical thing and say, oh, no, you failed to do this thing that hardly anybody understands, and that's the reason why you didn't finish. We go to great pains to make the expectations clear, and the challenge points and the challenge point rules are a way of sort of codifying them. So, a little bit of history. In the beginning, when I first started doing this, let me turn this down a little bit to get this gain back. When I first started doing this, 15 years ago, we wrote it, and I didn't think anybody else would ever be interested in this. And I kind of just put up a little bit of a trip report on motorcyclejazz.com, which I had just started. And I was amazed at the number of people that responded and wrote about it, and they wanted tracks and all kinds of stuff like that. So it kind of surprised me that it ever took off. I never really thought it would. Again, this is before backcountry discovery routes or anything like that were very popular. So a few years go by, and as I told you all when I was talking about the history of the tour, there was always technical stuff on the tour. There wasn't as much as there is now, but there were also fewer days. It started out being 5 days, and you went basically the same distance as you're going now, although a lot of it was higher speed. But there was always technical stuff on the tour. So in the beginning, what would happen is teams would go out, and most of you all know the drill. We said, no, this is not a big bike kind of a thing. This is not something like a backcountry discovery route or a tour of Baja or the TAT, which did exist at the time, or anything like that. You actually need a dirt bike to do this. And you did, if you were going to do all of it. Well, what happened was people would show up and they'd just skip all the real technical stuff. They'd do it in their big bike and they'd go, yeah, well, we did 95% of it, so what difference does it make? Well, the difference is you didn't do the part that you could not have done on that bike, or probably could not have done on that bike. So the first challenge point system was my attempt to basically say, okay, I'm going to throw down the gauntlet. I'm going to put a challenge point here, and you've got to GPS mark that challenge point. Hi, Brian. Or else it doesn't count. Your tour doesn't count. So that's what got this whole thing rolling, and I did it for a few years. And believe it or not, one of the first things that happened was there was a team that showed up, and what they decided to do was just ride in and like poach the challenge points, then ride back out. So they figured out the easiest way to get to the challenge point. They rode back out the same way. And their entire tour of Idaho consisted of trying to get all the challenge points by not actually riding the route. So again, that's why when you start out teaching, your syllabus is a paragraph long, and at the end of a 30-year career, it reads like the Magna Carta. And that's kind of what happened here, is people kept trying to work us a little bit. We got better at anticipating the kind of things that people were going to do. Now, you might say, well, why do you care? Why go to all this? Well, I almost didn't for a while. There was a period of time when I thought about just basically doing what the TAT and a lot of other people do, which is just put it out there and say, I don't care what you do. Just leave me alone. Don't tell me about it. But enough people by that time had come along and really enjoyed the experience, thought it was something special, that when I started talking about backing away from it, which was about 10 years ago, people said, no, no, no. We really kind of dig this. We know it's a hassle, but it had some value to us. So that's basically when I decided to say, okay, full tilt boogie. The year that my middle son was born, I kind of had to take a year off there, so I didn't pay that much attention to it. But there it is. So what I want to do tonight is to tell you about the challenge point rules for 2020, specifically for 2020. Now, they change every year. So the rules for this year are not exactly the same as the rules for last year, and they're not the same as the rules for the year before. So deal with it. Yeah, teams last year had a different set of rules. The route was slightly different last year, and that's just the way that it works. It changes a little bit from year to year, and you got to learn to deal with that. If you're a 2020 team, what you're worried about are the 2020 rules, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight, the 2020 rules. So first of all, I think probably everybody understands that it is necessary for you to be a member of the Tour of Idaho Facebook page. You need to be a member of the forum. You need to have declared a team. Everybody needs to have a PLB link, and that PLB, that web page PLB link needs to be working a minimum of 10 days before you go out on the tour. We use that PLB link to keep track of you. You also need to carry some method of tracking your progress. You need to create tracks. PLB tracks are not high enough resolution. You have to create tracks with a resolution of around 1 second, once every couple of seconds, something like that. The default for most GPS units is once every couple of seconds, if I'm not mistaken. That's plenty high enough resolution. But if you attempt to submit PLB track points for your Tour of Idaho track points, that's not going to work. The resolution's not high enough. It's typically 10 to 20 minute resolution. And, if you miss a couple of them, which happens every once in a while, then there's 40 minutes. We don't have a record of where you were. Believe it or not, I actually have had somebody that carried somebody else's PLB and then claimed that, oh yeah, this person rode this whole chunk of this route with me, when the fact of the matter is the guy was carrying 2 PLBs. So believe it or not, I've seen it all. The tracks, basically, it's extremely difficult for you to fake a set of tracks. And when I look at the tracks, I'm pretty much going to understand what happened better than anything else. So those tracks are, as I mentioned a little bit earlier this week in a video, that is a dead mortal lock. You have to submit tracks within, I think it says 72 hours of your tour. So make sure you don't lose your tracks. Save them every single night. A lot of GPS units, especially if you don't have a very big card in there, or if you didn't write your data to a card, if you're writing it to internal memory, when it runs out of internal memory, it just starts writing over the stuff that you already put out there. So you don't want to lose stuff. Now, every year a team loses a chunk of a day. And again, we've never dinged anybody over anything like that. But just make sure that you do the best that you can to submit a complete set of tracks for your tour. So there's all that preparatory stuff that you have to do. At the end of your tour, within 72 hours, you have to email me a set of tracks. It is much easier for me if you email me one track of your entire tour. If you send them to me day by day, then I will, I'll go ahead and stitch them together for